Tonight, an avoidable death. An inquiry concludes a woman who lay undiscovered in a crashed car beside her dead partner could have survived, but for flawed police call handling procedures.
That somebody could simply forget to put something in the system, and as a result, 2 people lie there for 3 days and ultimately cost Lamara her life.
Also making the headlines, election energy. Labour leader Keir Starmer sets out plans for a publicly owned power company based in Scotland. But the SNP and the Conservatives say it could cost thousands of oil jobs.
Protesters are outside Hampden as Scotland's women prepare to play Israel in a Euro 2025 qualifier.
Lyndon Dykes is stretchered off from training just 2 weeks away from Scotland's opening game in the Euros.
And I'm at the Scone Palace Garden Fair as meteorological spring comes to an end, but is any summery treats on the way? I'll have the details later on.
I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. A mum who lay undiscovered in a car by the side of a motorway for 3 days beside her dead partner suffered almost incomprehensible pain. A fatal accident inquiry into the crash has found she could have been saved if she'd been treated in time. But there was an organisational failure in police call handling procedures.
Lamara Bell and John Yule were on their way home to Falkirk from a camping trip in July 2015 when the crash happened near Stirling. Tonight, both of their families say it's taken too long for the findings to be released and say what they've been through is unimaginable. Courtney Cameron reports.
I have recurring nightmares 2 or 3 times a week where I see the accident as if I'm in the car watching.
Gordon Yule waited 9 long years for these findings. The inquiry into the death of his son and his girlfriend Lamara aimed to examine why it took 3 days for police to respond after the couple's car crashed off the M9. Lamara's injuries could have been survivable if help had reached her in time.
On impact, he was out, but he was gone. What Lamara went through, it horrifies me. Lying there, injured, next to her dead partner, it's just unimaginable. She'd lay there for 3 days, and that breaks my heart.
It's believed John Yule crashed off the M9 around 6 a.m. on Sunday, the 5th of July 2015. 4 hours later, a farmer spotted the blue Clio down an embankment. He called 101 and was connected to a call handler at Bilston Glen. That call formed a crucial part of this inquiry. Farmer John Wilson was asked if the accident had just happened. He replied hopefully not, and he couldn't see any blue police tape. Sergeant Brian Henry said officers would check it out, but he didn't log his notes from the call onto the official system. No action was taken for 3 days.
Brian Henry told the inquiry he'd been tortured since the accident. He was unable to provide an explanation for his actions other than its simple human error. He said he just assumed the car may have been abandoned. The sheriff described his apology directly to the families as genuine and heartfelt.
We're human, we make mistakes, but it shouldn't have ever been allowed to have happened, that somebody could simply forget to put something in a system.
3 days after the crash, around 9:30 in the morning, another farmer spotted the car. He then found John Yule dead in the driver's seat. Lamara Bell was conscious and pleading for help. He called 999. The mother of 2 died in hospital 4 days later.
You relive it, constantly. You're there. You're right there in that moment.
We, on this occasion, catastrophically failed to do what we're here to do, which is to keep people safe. We didn't do that.
The sheriff says the incident has had a corrosive effect on public confidence in Police Scotland. In September 2021, the force admitted system failures. It agreed to pay the Bell family more than £1 million in compensation. In his determination, the sheriff noted a confused, fractious working environment at the Bilston Glen Call Handling Centre, which was under pressure due to staff shortages. Police Scotland has repeated its apology and insists significant changes have been made since 2015.
We've invested in our people, we've invested in our processes, and we've improved our technology to support that. So having a contact assessment model allows us to have an enhanced look at the vulnerability of the caller, ensuring that we provide the right sort of service.
The Scottish Police Federation fear there are still cracks in the system due to staffing shortages.
At the moment, we are not going to calls for somebody getting their shed broken into. And if you look back to the original call that came in for this, it wasn't a case of it was two people within a vehicle and an accident had happened. It was for an abandoned car. So you have to remember that. And the concern is that this could happen again.
The inquiry makes no formal recommendations, as improvements have already been made.
I hope I never see a report where something similar has happened, or else it's all been in vain. And I hope that lessons were learned and things have changed now, that it's impossible for that to ever happen again.
Courtney Cameron, STV News, Stirling.
Energy took centre stage in the general election campaign today. On a visit to Scotland, the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer set out plans to create a publicly owned company based here to invest in cleaner power. He says the move will create thousands of jobs.
However, both the SNP and the Conservatives say the scheme could cost Scotland thousands of jobs in the oil and gas sector. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie reports.
This was Keir Starmer's second visit to Scotland in a week. In a speech to party members in Greenock, he set out Labour's 6 first steps for the country. Among them, plans to create Great British Energy, a publicly owned investment company, which he says will drive the transition to clean energy.
Scotland will lead the clean energy revolution. And that's why Great British Energy, which will cut those bills, which will give us that security and those jobs, will be headquarters right here in Scotland.
You've guaranteed that your energy plans won't cost thousands of jobs in Scotland, as the sector predicts. How can you make that guarantee, and what is it based on?
Well, the guarantee is based on the fact that we're not turning off the taps, we're not revoking the licences, and then oil and gas is part of the mix for decades to come. On top of that, there will be new jobs, tens of thousands of new jobs, created by the transition to renewable energy.
At the same time, the SNP leader challenged Sir Keir Starmer to commit to an emergency budget if Labour wins power.
They've signed up to the tight fiscal limits of the Tories. They've signed up to tight borrowing. That is austerity on steroids.
And rather than creating employment, he said Labour's plans would put oil and gas jobs at risk.
I'm all for energy investment, but I do put out a cautionary word that a lot of what I hear of Labour's energy plans will result in significant loss of employment in the northeast of Scotland in the oil and gas sector, and I don't want to be part of that.
So you're using your right hand. Have you ever seen a referee show a card with his left hand?
The Conservatives want voters to show the SNP the red card. They also reject Labour's energy plans.
It may be based here in Scotland, but GB Energy is not going to produce any energy. And we know that Keir Starmer's plans will risk tens of thousands of jobs in the northeast of Scotland. The SNP and the Labour Party have similar plans to prevent any new oil and gas licences. They oppose the Rosebank and the Campbell fields. Only the Scottish Conservatives are standing up for the northeast of Scotland and the highly skilled workers in the oil and gas sector.
The Liberal Democrats were trying to serenade older voters.
This is all about dignity in old age. It was the Liberal Democrats that first brought in the triple lock on our pensions, and it's the Liberal Democrats who can trust to keep that. 300,000 pensioners have been taken out of absolute poverty by that measure alone, but they've never had it harder with the cost of living emergency, the food budget not stretching as much as it once did.
Away from campaigning, the Royal Proclamation was read in Edinburgh, marking the dissolution of the UK Parliament, with less than 5 weeks until polling day. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
And a reminder, our political editor Colin Mackay will be asking the questions of the Scottish party leaders in the STV election debate. That's on Monday night at 9 o'clock here on STV. A protest is underway outside Hampden Park tonight as Scotland's women's team play Israel in a Euro 2025 qualifier. Demonstrators are waving banners and flags on the steps of the National Stadium.
No fans have been allowed inside over fears protesters had bought up tickets and were planning to disrupt the match. Ollie Dickinson reports.
Well, protesters have been arriving here at Hampden throughout the afternoon. They set up a large Palestinian flag in the car park and also held a demonstration where they taped their mouths closed with masking tape. They say that symbolises the fact they feel they have been gagged and that their voices are not being heard. That's because tonight's game is being played behind closed doors. Now, at times, as you can see, they've moved up onto the Hampden steps and used megaphones and drums to make their voices and their chants heard. Now, protest organisers have told me that they would like to see as many as 1,000 people here tonight. How many of those turn out remains to be seen. We spoke to some of them as they set up this afternoon.
I feel that it was more about the thought that people would be smuggling in Palestinian flags and the fear that the Israeli team would be playing in a sea of Palestinian flags, and I fear that again, it's just pandering to Israel. Israel are committing crimes of apartheid and a plausible genocide.
I think it's cowardly that they've kept us out of our own national stadium. They've silenced us as fans and as protesters, so I totally agree with that. We should be in there making a noise in front of the television, and instead they're keeping us outside, keeping us silent.
Now, I understand that the SFA were told if this game did not go ahead, there would be severe sporting consequences. The game, as I mentioned, is being played behind closed doors. That's because the SFA say they received intelligence that had they allowed fans into the ground, the game itself would have been disrupted. One protester told me the game would not have got to 90 minutes. There is, of course, still the threat of some disruption to the game tonight. But for now, the protesters are outside Hampden Park. They say they're going to stay here and make their voices heard well beyond the 90 minutes.
Ollie Dickinson at Hampden. The family of a man and his 12-year-old son who died after going missing while hill walking in Glasgow have paid tribute to a caring father and an energetic, loving boy. Tom Parry and his son Richie from Cheshire have now been formally identified. Well, Joanne Bonner joins us now. And Joanne, a statement has been released by police on behalf of Mr Parry's wife.
Yes, John, tragic circumstances here. A major search was launched on Wednesday for Tom and Richie Parry when they failed to return from their hill walk in Glencoe. Their car was discovered in the car park of the Three Sisters Trail. Then, very sadly, yesterday morning, their bodies were found. Now, Gemma Parry has released a statement about her 12-year-old son and husband tonight. She says Tom, who was 49 years old, was a caring and loving father to his children and a loving husband to me, his wife Gemma. Richie was an energetic, loving boy who loved his quizzes, maths and sports. He always cared for others as well, no matter what. She went on to thank the police in Scotland and in Cheshire, as well as the Mountain Rescue Service and other emergency services who searched for them.
And Joanne, any more information about what happened in this tragedy?
Well, STV News spoke to people yesterday in the area who described the weather over the last couple of days as challenging. The police have said there are no suspicious circumstances and their deaths are being treated as the result of a fall. A report has now been sent to the Procurator Fiscal. Inspector Katie Duncan said our thoughts remain with the Parry family at what is a very difficult time for them. Police have also thanked everyone who responded to their appeal to all emergency services and mountain rescue volunteers.
Joanne, thank you. Two men are facing lengthy jail sentences after pleading guilty to a machete attack in Glasgow's East End. Cameron Carnwath, Jordan Logan, assaulted Christopher Foy in Denniston last May. The third man, Cameron Ferguson, was jailed for 2 years after admitting having a machete in a public place. A deadline for taxi drivers to comply with low emission zone restrictions in Glasgow comes into force at midnight. Councillors were recently told that around 270 taxis face being taken off the road as they are still not compliant. The City Council says the scheme is essential to tackle air pollution. Signs encouraging good behaviour from Glasgow street performers are to be installed in the city's main shopping street. Glasgow City Council says extra police officers will also be on Buchanan Street over the summer. The measures come after more than half of respondents to a consultation complained about noise and highlighted issues including poor performance, quality and song repetition. College lecturers across Scotland will be continuing to strike across 4 days next week as part of a pay dispute dating back to 2022. College Employers Scotland says it made a final offer of £5,000 consolidated over 3 years. The government says they will continue to facilitate discussions.
What we need from our politicians is the resourcing of a service which provides working class kids and communities with the opportunity to be poets, to be engineers, to be musicians, to be care workers. We believe, and it's part of the kind of core values of further education, that every working class kid should be able to see their dreams come true.
Ronnie's here with the sport. So 2 weeks to the Euros and
John.
Plenty happening in Scotland
Plenty
today.
happening with the Scotland squad today, outspreading some joy, but bad news because there could be a big injury blow to the Scotland team. A very good evening. Scotland captain Andy Robertson insists the squad is ready to create history for the country and qualify out the groups at this summer's Euros for the first time. The striker was speaking as the team visited Glasgow's Royal Children's Hospital this afternoon, but Steve Clarke has been hit with a big injury concern after striker Lyndon Dykes was stretchered off this morning in training. Spreading some joy for those in need. Steve Clarke and his players took time away from their preparations for Germany to visit the Royal Children's Hospital in Glasgow this afternoon, as everyone, young and old, get ready for the Euros. Captain Andy Robertson and his fellow players have the weight of a nation on their shoulders, but today the skipper hopes they can keep everyone smiling this summer.
Obviously we've got a lot to be excited about, a lot to be grateful about, but you know, we've kind of got a long pre-camp and it's important we take that time to try and, you know, we've got a lot of motivation going over to Germany, but I'm sure today we'll get, you know, even more. You know, we'll see some amazing kids fighting battles, like you says, that they shouldn't be fighting, but yeah, like if it gives us any extra motivation then that's it, but it's more importantly to put smiles on their faces and everyone connected to them today.
A week tonight, the Scotland squad will be playing at Hampden in their final warm-up match before heading to Germany. And Robertson is eyeing something special.
Obviously we know if we can get out of the group then we create history in this country, and that's, you know, our aim, kind of leaving a legacy of that behind and being the first team to do that. Look, we're going over there to try and show what we can do on the biggest stage, and if we do that and we perform to the levels that we know we can perform to, then, you know, hopefully we can, you know, create that history that we spoke about.
Robertson has been joined in this squad by fellow Liverpool player Ben Doak and is excited about what the teenager can bring.
He's confident. Ben's always, you know, not lacked in confidence. He's a fantastic player. You know, obviously season cut short with injury, and trained with the lads today for the first time, and you know, looked as if he hadn't been out for 5 months. He brings pace, he brings excitement. He's not scared to take anyone on, and yeah, it's exactly what we need. You know, young players that have got no fear, and he's certainly got that, and he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Lyndon Dykes was also at the hospital visit this afternoon, but this morning he was being stretchered off at training after going down with a leg injury. With our opening match against Germany just 2 weeks away, the striker is now being assessed by the Scotland medical team and awaiting scan results. But it's too early to determine the full extent of his injury. Now, plastic pitches are to be banned from the Scottish Premiership after top-flight clubs voted for their removal. Clubs have 2 years to phase out the use of artificial surfaces. After Livingston's relegation, Kilmarnock are the only Premiership side with a plastic pitch, but they've already announced plans to return to playing on grass at the end of next season. Now, with their Nations League match behind closed doors tonight against Israel, Scotland's Sophie Howard admits it's hugely frustrating they've been forced to play the match without their supporters.
Hampden will be completely empty tonight due to security concerns, with Pedro Martinez-Los's side looking for a huge 3 points in their group campaign.
I think it's very frustrating that we don't get to play in front of our home fans that mean a lot to us and that we are looking to inspire, and I think we have done that in the past. But we're in a situation that we can't control. It's circumstances that no one wanted, but that's a situation that we're in and we just have to deal with that.
We have done some work with the group on research about what is the impact of games playing behind closed doors. Obviously, common sense is about the most motivational aspect of not having your fans and how does that affect the players. But I think both teams will be in the same conditions, and also we have done some work during these 2 or 3 days to make sure we can put the focus not only in the training aspect but also on some aspect to help the group to compensate this.
To rugby, and with the regular season coming to an end this weekend, Glasgow and Edinburgh are both looking for vital wins as we head into the playoffs. Warriors head coach Franco Smith is urging his players to finish on a high as they welcome Zebre to Scotstoun tonight, with the club having already secured a home quarter-final. Edinburgh, though, aren't yet guaranteed a playoff spot as they take on Benetton. Luke Crosby insisting they are hungry for revenge after a defeat to the Italians earlier in the campaign.
Any game that you kind of narrowly miss out and you put all the effort into it, you're so close, and then obviously when you come at this time of the season, you look back and be like, those kind of results could put in different stead. But that's the thing with professional sport, we can't look back. Like, we are where we are now, and we're just looking forward to going out there and putting a performance in, and looking forward to potentially being in the knockout stuff.
Finally, Paralympic star Neil Faki says he's rediscovered his love for cycling after success in Tokyo 4 years ago. The 30-year-old wants to add to his tally of 2 golds and 2 silver medals when the Games get underway in Paris later this summer.
Initially, before Tokyo, I was considering that might be my last Games, and I was sort of possibly on the way out. But the way things went with the postponed year kind of brought us to 2021, and I kind of found that love for cycling again, to be honest, and I decided to carry on. I think competing in front of those crowds is a bit like a drug, really, where you're chasing that time and time again. And when that day comes that I hang up the bike, that's the thing I'm going to probably find really hard to replace.
That is all your sport tonight. As ever, you can keep up to date with all the very latest from the Scotland camp and the build-up to the Euros on our website, stv.tv/sport. And it is just 2 weeks to go until Scotland and Germany go head-to-head live on STV in the opening match of the Euros. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Ronnie. OK, time for the weather, and Sean is out and about at Scone Palace Garden Fair. And Sean, we all know how much you just love your garden. So the big question, have you actually done any work today?
Oh, Kellyanne, I'm sweating buckets here. Do you remember my Himalayan lily during lockdown that I grew? 12 years it took to flower, lasted 2 days. Hope you remember that now. But what a fantastic day it's been here, and another great day to come tomorrow. They're expecting record number of visitors. No surprise given the fact we've had sunshine, 20 degrees this afternoon, and more of that to come tomorrow. Exhausting stuff going round all the stalls and looking at the flowers. Someone enjoying a wee sleep there. Better be quiet. But I met some people earlier on, some children from a primary school, to help them plant some seeds. Let's have a look.
It's bigger and building even more on the community that really came together to start this 2 years ago.
Mother Nature's been kind to us, and people are coming out in their droves to visit the garden fair. Lots of different things for people to do.
How many visitors do you expect over the 2 days?
So over the 2 days, we're thinking between 5,000 and 6,000.
So what's been your favourite part of today so far?
The flowers.
The flowers?
Yes.
What about yourself? The cake?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that. You get a mouthful of cake just now. Oh no, don't finish it, because do you know what happens if we plant that? We'll get a huge cake tree. Did you like the flowers though as well? No? Boring! Oh, well, I suppose gardening's not for everybody, but they definitely enjoyed tucking into that Scone Palace cake. But lots of sunshine to come, warm weather tomorrow, more cloud coming in on Sunday. Let's have a look.
A spell of wows will gradually settle into a scattering of traditional tapas. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, I've got a delightful start for you for the start of meteorological summer. Lovely blue skies for many of us tomorrow and even warmer than today. Now, as we pull out here from Scone, you can see we've got plenty of clear skies across the country, but just look right next to me here. Out in the Atlantic, there's a lot of cloud around, and that's going to drift its way eastwards throughout the weekend. By the time we get to Sunday, we'll see more cloud around, so make the most of that sunshine. Now, during tonight, clear skies for many of us, and like last night, again, a little bit of a cool one with temperatures down to about 5 or 6 degrees Celsius in some spots. So we've got the clear skies, plenty of sunshine for many of us as we head into the evening. So as I say, I'm offering up a beautiful day to come tomorrow, lots of sunshine. However, there is quite a bit of shadow across the map, particularly around the Lothians, South Lanarkshire, North Lanarkshire and Ayrshire. But that cloud, it's high level cloud, it's what we had earlier on here. It will drift away to the south and it should turn much, much sunnier into the afternoon, and we're in for a stunning evening tomorrow night. Lots and lots of sunshine to end the day. Top temperatures, look at that Grangemouth, Gorbals right up the top. That's top spots for you. 21 degrees Celsius, feeling lovely in that sunshine. Also doing very well, the likes of Dunblane and also Stirling, highs of 20 degrees, so even warmer than it's been today. Not quite as warm along the west coast. The breeze is coming in from the Atlantic, 15 degrees here. But on Sunday, as I say, it is all changed. We've got more clouds spreading in from the west, some drizzle in western parts, warmest and brightest in the east. Enjoy tomorrow. We'll see you later.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Oh, well seen. Sean was out in the sunshine and chatting to all the kids, eh, John?
You're stuck in here talking to each other, eh? Great.
Great, great. Good night.
Have a good weekend.